We're recording.
You're recording? Yep, you're ready, go ahead.
Following is the agenda for the regular Borough Council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Mayor and Council Municipal Corporation of the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 on January 10, 2024, in the Municipal Building, 25 Lennox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, consisting with the Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting will be open for public comments and shall be in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Borough's Municipal Code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Instead of a prayer, I'd like a moment of silence. We lost 3 good individuals from our town. Millie Torsiali, who used to be a council person up here many years ago. Ben Stelzer, who was our DPW supervisor, passed away. And also Dave Stanzial, who was a prosecutor, he passed away recently all in the last week. So it's just a moment of silence for all 3 of those, please. Thank you. Okay. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Dorr.
Here.
Councilman Cruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Here.
Councilwoman Gilbert.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Here.
Councilman Lee.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, Mark Severino, and our Borough Administrator, Michael Farrell.
Okay, under presentations, we're going to skip the oath of offices and an update. I just want to give an update on the flooding, which just happened in the last 2 days. It's been a very busy couple days. We skated by again with this last storm. This last storm was very similar to the Christmas storm. Both rivers crested into minor, almost moderate flooding. Both rivers are now coming down from cresting. The issue is the Wanacue Reservoir, before the storm started, was at 101%. So we started with water spilling out of the reservoir. The Wanacue itself has risen almost 7 feet, so we have some properties that are flooding that normally don't flood. We have some roads that are closed on the north side of town now because of that, and I've got to thank our OEM and our police, our fire, our CERT. We've opened the shelter the last 2 nights. Luckily, no residents took use of that. All these volunteer groups have been outstanding throughout this whole time. I've been on the phone numerous times with the governor's office and the Department of Environmental Protection chairman. We had a meeting and it was recommended to them by myself and a bunch of other mayors locally here to open the gates pre-storm to let water constantly flow through the dam to get some of that water out. We had a organizational meeting 2 days before the storm with mayors up and down the coast. At that meeting, they told me they would not be opening the gates to let any water out. My argument, and I'm going to have some personal meetings, probably with hopefully the governor's office and the DEP commissioner. The Wanacue Reservoir, in my opinion, should have a pump station put on it that's able to pump water out of there when we're at 100% capacity. I understand it's a privately owned group and they make money on that, but taking 2 inches of water out of that when we know 3 inches of water is coming still gives them their 100%, because at 100% it's spilling over the spillway either way. Either we're going to take it out manually or it's going to spill out. It would be beneficial to our residents and everyone downstream to get some of that water out, because we lucked out. What we lucked out on is there wasn't a blockage anywhere on the Wanacue. As soon as there is a blockage on the Wanacue, no matter what town it's in, everything starts backing up from there. And if that had happened here, our town would have been underwater on the north side. The floodgates themselves, there's been a lot of discussion of how they're working. There's been a lot of residents very concerned that it's all done by computer model, and there's no one actually watching what's going on with the computer model. At the end of the day, the people who have their feet on the ground see how things react down here in Pompton, and a computer model does not see that. I can tell you the mayor of Wayne was very vocal also about the fact that there should be somebody watching on how this mechanism works. So that's another thing that we'll work forward to. Unfortunately, there is another storm coming this Saturday. The water is not dropping as quickly as we hoped on the Wanacue. So we're still going to be in danger again, and the same groups that I just mentioned will still be very busy doing what they need to do. So I thank you to all the groups involved that were involved with that. Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments? Council President Devine, Councilwoman Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Is your hand up, Dave? Okay.
David Barron, 107 Federal Hill Road. First of all, Happy New Year, and also congratulations, Mayor, and Police, and Eck, for your swearing in from last week, which I saw on TV.
And Maria.
Says, I've been keeping up with what Channel 12's been saying about the storm, obviously, and which I saw you and Chief Clark on TV this morning. Yeah, and either Monday night or late last night, I saw on Facebook saying that the dam gates opened around 9:53 last night, and hey, yeah, and let's see, what do I have here? Let's see, hey, yes, so what I don't get, and since you said you had to call Murphy's office to see if we could open the gates, and which he said no. So what I don't get is why do we have to go through Murphy to see if we can open the gate instead of you or the chief saying, go ahead, open it? And so I don't get that, and the other thing I saw today was that it said Murphy was concerned about the Passaic River, of how much water's in there, but he doesn't even care what we have in here, in the dam. As you said, it's 101% full, and it's gonna overflow. So I don't get why he cares about that, but not here. So as I heard that, then I started yelling at the TV, and saying things I can't say here, but I think Michael knows what I'm trying to think of. Plus, you're young enough to know what I'm thinking, right?
Sure.
See?
Are you saying I'm not young enough? Is that
Oh, put it this way, he's the youngest in here, and the police department's too close to this room, so I can't say here. Or I'll be where I don't want to be for the night, but you know what I'm thinking. So, yes, so, and also thanks to Al Evangelista for keeping us updated on how much water was in the dam. It's, oh, he's not here. What a surprise. Yeah, yes, and also, I saw you post about the dam. Yeah, and as you typed in dam, then you put in parentheses, and I had to get a laugh at that. Yes, so just wanted to let you know I got a laugh at that one. All right, so, yes, I think that's it.
All right, thanks. I'll answer at the end. Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
Councilwoman Pelidori, who was that over here? Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, to respond to your concerns, Dave, thank you for all what you said. Unfortunately, the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP and the Governor's Office actually have the control of what they need to do on that dam, and that's one of the questions I'd like to speak to them about. I'd like to see someone who's actually in charge and let me just say this, after hearing from other mayors throughout the state, we're not the only one that has a flood control gate in their community. So there are other communities going through the same thing we were doing, asking the exact same questions, by the way. It was unfortunate that the DEP or the governor was not on the call. I think they should have been on the call to answer the questions. That would have helped us greatly. But, communication is the key here, so hopefully moving forward, we'll get some communication and we'll get some answers to why that happened. Okay. Approval of minutes, motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes, December 6th, closed session meeting minutes, December 6th, reorg meeting minutes, January 3rd. Can I have a motion?
Motion?
Councilwoman Kent,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? We do. Sorry. Authorizing payment of prepaid bills. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilwoman Polidori, can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Resolutions, anybody need anything removed?
Yes.
Which ones?
2446, 2455, 2459.
Okay, Liz, except for those three?
Gotta get used to it.
Whereas the mayor and borough council of the borough of Pompton next review the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and borough council of the borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolutions 2432 through 2481, and then both 2446, 2455, and 2459.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Council President Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, Liz, 2446. Adjusted salary for construction officer, what's the concerns?
So,
We can't talk about the individual, so if you're gonna talk about an individual, he has to be riced, so.
So, Michael, I'm going to defer to you. You know what my concerns are. Do you suggest I vocalize my concerns without using the individual's name, or shall we go back to have another meeting about this?
No, as I suggest, if you wish for further discussion, we should defer to the next meeting so the employee can be noticed. I would defer to the borough attorney's advice on that too.
I agree with that. So there should be a motion to table it for the next meeting, and you'll issue a rights notice at least 48 hours in advance of that meeting.
So am
Okay,
I making a motion to table it?
Correct.
Yes, I'll second.
so, that was, can I have a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second.
Councilwoman Kilberg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? 55?
So then 55, I guess the attorney would have to answer this. If that 2446 is part of 2455, do we approve that in part, or do we, 2446, that adjusted salary is a line item on 2455?
Okay. Mike, is there a time issue?
No, the employees would be subject to a retro check if it was to be deferred.
Can it be approved with the exception of?
So all our employees will not be paid because of this?
It would be deferred to the next meeting, and they would get a
Yeah, that's
retro
not fair
check.
to all our employees.
They would get a retro check
Yeah.
at time of adoption. I would defer to the borough attorney in terms of pulling a certain individual from the resolution.
Let me see what the resolution number is. To answer your question, you can, but let me look at it so we can work on the language for the motion. This is resolution.
I also have a question about that,
Which one?
2455.
Okay.
Can I finish before you go into your
Yes,
question?
I just didn't
My
want
question
anybody to
might-
skip me.
We also discussed removing in total one of the line items that sits vacant that doesn't serve a purpose. Does it make sense to have that done as well, since we're adjusting this?
I think you probably could do
Redevelopment
that, yeah.
inspector?
You can do that if you so wish, yes.
Okay.
Somehow I got disjointed with the numbers, so bear with me. It's gonna take me a little bit.
Well, why don't we move on to 59 while we're talking about
Okay, good
55?
idea.
Okay, so I don't know how granular you want to get into my reasoning for this. Michael and I spoke again this afternoon. For reasons that I've observed over the last few years in reviewing and approving bills, I think it would be in the benefit of the borough to review the specifics of this shared service agreement to either refine it or define better what it actually entails. We do pay a lot of bills under what I would think would be vehicle repair and mechanical services outside of the shared service agreement. It was upon the suggestion of the borough administrator that perhaps we review this in greater detail with Dan to define exactly what it is this is supposed to encompass.
If I remember correctly, Dan is the one that helped us put this together.
So I have gone through this in the past with Dan and asked some questions. I do believe that there is an opportunity to revisit this. I asked last year, the borough administrator at that time felt that it could have used some revising. And again, this year, we were in agreement. Before we sign it for 5 more years, I don't see why we can't just review it.
Yeah, we can review it again. Dan would be the one that would be putting most of his thoughts into this, and he's the one that put this agreement together, so we can do that again, sure.
Okay, so for clarity's sake,
You're gonna remove 59?
yeah, we would remove it, defer it to the Public Works Committee.
Yeah.
Discuss it with Dan, and then bring it back here for consideration at
Yep.
some point.
Okay, did you find out 55?
Yeah, I found the resolution. So it's construction official, zoning official, building subcode official.
No.
Which one was it? Sure.
It's all of that.
I also, well, I have another question on
Okay, you
this.
can ask.
I see in the same, on here, the same person, like for the same position twice. Is there like an hourly rate and then a set?
I can't talk about any one employee, but
No, well, I'm not talking about the employees themselves, I'm talking about the position. I see it on here
Position
twice.
Other than his,
Correct.
correct?
Do you want
That's only one
to see what I'm
person.
talking about?
Okay.
Well, we'll start with
Redevelopment
Councilwoman Keelberg. What's the position?
Redevelopment Agency Secretary, it's on here twice.
Yes, so
Yes.
for the redevelopment agency, the way an agency works is there's an appointed secretary and assistant secretary to the agency. So that individual gets a stipend for the work that they do at the meeting itself.
Okay.
And then they get a per diem hourly rate for all of the work that they do in the office.
Oh, okay.
With regards to the redevelopment agency itself.
so a lot of the calls
Okay.
that come into redevelopment, she handles the paperwork on in the
Okay.
office.
Right.
So
So,
that answers my question.
so that's why she gets the per diem on it.
Okay, thank you.
So that one's answered, right?
Yes.
Okay, now go ahead to yours.
Okay, before we forget, I think we need a motion to table.
That we did.
No, this is the last one.
59,
There wasn't a vote on it.
motion,
I thought we did, didn't we?
No.
No, we
Oh,
just
can I have a
discussed
motion to table 2459?
motion,
Councilwoman Valadori?
yes.
Second.
Council President Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, 55.
Okay, so,
Tabling that one? Or
What's that?
removing? Table or removing?
Oh, for which one? The one we just voted on, was table?
now with respect to Resolution 2455, if it's the desire To move it, there should be a motion to amend it to remove construction official / zoning official / building subcode official and redevelopment inspections positions from the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Council President?
Second.
Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Okay, I wasn't done talking.
Oh,
Jump on that one.
Okay.
So now we need another motion to adopt it as amended.
Okay.
Separate?
Separate motion to
Separate
adopt
motion?
as amended.
Okay. Councilwoman Palladori?
Second.
Council President Deline, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay.
Did you, everyone said aye? Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I just have a question on,
Sure.
since we pulled it. Why do we still maintain a teen center director?
In case
don't have a
bring-
teen
In
center.
case we bring one back, it has to be on the schedule. So if we were to open a teen center, we would need a teen center director.
So right now, we're just.
It's just an
gonna-
empty line, it's a line item.
It's just a
system.
line item?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Liz, whenever you're ready.
Ordinance will be presented for second reading and final adoption on January 24th. Ordinance 24-04, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute tower lease agreement and repeated utilization agreement with North Jersey Police Radio Association pursuant to state statute.
Motion to approve ordinance 2404 for introduction.
So moved.
Council President Deline,
Second.
Councilwoman Polidori, roll call, please. Is it a roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Kent.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-05, an ordinance amending certain provisions of Chapter 2 Administration Section 42, Police Department subsection 13, appointment of the municipal code of the Borough of Pompton.
So moved.
Motion to approve ordinance 2405 for introduction. Council President Deline,
Second.
Councilwoman Kilburg, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cruz. Kilburg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Kent.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-06, an ordinance amending Chapter 14, Article 1, Solid Waste Collection, subsection 1.4C3 of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Code to correlate to the needs of the Borough of Pompton Lakes recycling and waste removal contracts.
Motion to approve ordinance 2406 for introduction.
So moved.
Council President Deline, Councilwoman Polidori, roll call, please.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kilburg.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Kent.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under my report, beginning of the new year, I guess a lot of people like to get married, so I performed a bunch of weddings. We had a meeting, myself and the administration, with the MUA, because it's been brought to my attention, a lot of the residents calling unusually more than they normally do about the smell that's coming down from the MUA. And we did have a conversation with them, and they're saying they had to refine some of the mixture of how they move things around inside the tanks, and hopefully that would help with the smell. They are aware of it. I think Michael might report more about it in your report. You know, like I said, I'm going to go back to the flooding a little bit. There's a lot of discussion. You know, I was on a panel on Fox News nationally about why they don't open these reservoirs or why they don't open these dams earlier. It's going to be a hot topic moving forward, I can tell you, in the next year, because of the fact that more and more people are now flooding in areas that they don't. You know, Little Ferry, for example, which was an area that really didn't get hit with huge amounts of water, is going to become the new area that gets flooded the most as we move forward. Because all this water is running down from the reservoirs and all the rivers that surround us and everywhere else, and then ending up down in a little corner there that can't get out. So I think you're going to see a lot more discussion at the state level on how they're going to handle it. We all know, though, because we've been through it so much here in Pompton Lakes, there's no fixing flooding. We can try to control it a little bit. All the hard work the Shade Tree has done and flood advisory boards and all the other groups that are involved with how we clean our rivers, desnag our rivers, desilt our rivers, has made a difference for the residents that have been here a long time. This is the first flood we've had in 10 years. I remember times back in years past where we had 3 floods a year. Okay, granted, they were smaller, but they were 3 floods a year. So all that desilting, desnagging does make a difference. When these big numbers come and these big floods come, there's nothing we're going to do that we're fixing. The best we can do is be prepared, and I can tell you, seeing all the other towns and other mayors have told me, we are one of the best prepared towns when it comes to flooding. We have a lot of experienced people on the ground knowing how to do things. We have old timers that know how to look at the levels and know what's going on. You know, and then you have the other side of this. We have a bunch of new residents in town, just like every other town has. A lot of new people when COVID had moved around. I had one woman call me and ask me, there's a siren constantly going off. What is that siren? She didn't understand that was the floodgates opening and closing, and that it meant something. So it's an educational part also that we have to stay on top of and do, and I think Al has done a good job as our OEM coordinator in getting that message out. I would tell everyone, though, I have someone who grew up in town who's been here a long time and said to me, I was walking by the lake, and the lake seems high, we should let some water out. And I said, well, we've been discussing that and all that. She said, well, you should get that message out. I said, we did a reverse 911 call on that. We posted on social media. She never signed up for the reverse 911 calls. So it's important for everyone to sign up to receive the reverse 911 calls, and you can do that on our website. You can do that at the police department. You can come in here at the clerk's office and do that. Once you sign up for that, you will get notices of how to do things. It's simple things that new residents don't understand. When we ask you to move your car in a flood area, that doesn't mean move it up the street a little bit, because your street is going to go underwater. You need to move it, and we learned in this last message we put out, we told the residents where to move their cars to be safe. So it's an educational part on us, and it's an educational point on the public. But all in all, our CERT team was there. They opened the shelter 2 nights in a row. The first storm, we did have one family in there for a little while. The second story, we did not. So again, I thank everybody for that. What else did I have here? We had a Zoom call. We had some negotiations with some contracts. And that is my report. Council President DeWine.
Thank you, Mayor. Didn't get to do it at last meeting, but I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. This is the beginning of my term as council president, so I want to thank all the council for showing your faith and support in me for the next year. We had a quick turnaround from the new year when we had the flood right before Christmas to the second flood, and I do want to recognize everyone that participated in the response. Our first responders, our CERT for opening up the shelter, our OEM coordinator, Al Evangelista, for updating the public. I want to thank our mayor for advocating on behalf of our residents and the borough itself. I want to thank Michael, our administrator, for the constant communication through the storm and what was going on. And most importantly, I think I want to recognize the residents that have opened their homes, have given offers of help, have provided support to each other during this time, because the mayor's right. Since Irene, I think maybe there was one other minor flooding episode where we got water into the streets and a little bit into the parks. But again, our parks are designed to absorb the water, to avoid severe damage into the homes. And unfortunately, these past 2 storms, we have gotten that. So we've been pretty lucky. We've been pretty diligent in addressing obstruction removal for the last 13 years now, but we're back to where we are, and we'll continue to make progress, I'm sure. But it's been a while since I think residents have experienced this. But what they didn't forget is that they are neighbors, that they are willing to help each other. So I just want to recognize that. And then again, thank you for the update on the MUA. Michael, thank you for bringing the MUA into future projects. I think that kind of coordination is important within the borough. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a brief report. The Board of Education meeting was canceled last night. So I attended the January 2nd meeting,
And just a couple of thank yous. I just want to, or not thank yous, but congratulate Tracy Siopa for being nominated and winning president again for the Board of Education, and Scott Sanders as VP. I also want to congratulate Colleen Dawson, Susan O'Malley, and Carl Padula. They're swearing in on January 2nd. I wish them all the best in their, I don't know how many terms Carl is up to at this point, but he's up there.
A bunch.
He's a bunch. And again, I just want to ditto everything that Council President DeLine mentioned, just thanking everybody. I mean, the communication was so key. I don't think there's ever been a time where the communication was just on point. It kept everyone abreast of what was going on in town. Just want to thank the mayor as well and all the other mayors who went out there to represent us, obviously with the governor, the DEP, and obviously definitely the first responders. I mean, it was just amazing, just the collective effort between first responders, obviously, and the general public just helping out. So hopefully, we can get through this. I'll be my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. I too also want to thank all of the Office of Emergency Management staff, the police, our fire, our CERT teams, for all their diligence and their preparation on this climatic situation that not only Pompton Lakes and our downstream neighbors are dealing with, but pretty much all of New Jersey, since we're in a state of emergency. Mike Corelli, you've done an amazing job of keeping the council and mayor updated on all the different points of all the different correspondence that have been going around. And I do appreciate that. It's a hard job to follow through, and I thank you for your diligence on that. I also want to thank Mayor Sarah. I think he was on TV a number of times today and yesterday, and I think he did a great job, along with our Chief Clark. It's very important that the residents see us out there representing them. And I've been a member of the Mayor's Flood Board since John Marin was around, so I've been on it over 20 years, one way or another. And I assure you that everyone in this town has taken every possible step possible to keep our flooding to a minimum. But when you have 4 downstream towns that request assistance on something that probably couldn't have caused any kind of environmental issue, and they were denied, I have a problem. And that is wrong. And I think it's going to be up to us and to Lincoln Park, the Quantic Township, and the Mayor of Wayne, as well as Senator Corrado, because she was also in correspondence.
And Weber and Brian also, Bergen also wrote letters.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm just looking at the correspondence. But our elected officials have got to step up to deal with this. It has been over 10 years since we met with the Army Corps in the Pompton Lakes High School, and they were very clear that this Oakland project was a first phase to keep Oakland dry. They never finished the second phase, which was the dual inlet flood tunnel. That has never been done because we knew that it would take 30 years to build that flood tunnel. Even if it was started today, we'd still be in the same situation because it's going to take 30 years to build to drill a flood tunnel 75 feet down and all the way down to Newark Bay. It wasn't a feasible project then. It's not a feasible project now, but they left us hanging. And we can't be hanging anymore. And we've been extremely lucky that we haven't had the flooding because of all the work that our flood advisory groups have done. And understanding the difference in how to open and close these gates. But it's been over 10 years. I believe the last time that the Army Corps of Engineers was here in 2014. And their answer was, if you don't want the flood tunnel, we're walking away, which is exactly what they did. And so we need to bring them back because Pompton Lakes has a right to dry homes. They have a right to understand the gates. And we do have so many new people down in the south end that they've never experienced water in their basements. And we have to we do a very good job with explaining that. We do have the flood advisory group that sends out all our letters. Liz and Kathy Trost in the office do a lot of mailings. We have it in our calendar. So we've done our job, but you know what? Our job hasn't stopped. And every time this climate change issue comes up, it's going to be in our face. So we have to be diligent, Mayor, and I'm going to ask that we do that. And to bring back the Army Corps of Engineer, to bring back the governor, and this will also impact all our downstream residents as well. So I'm looking forward to being in those meetings. Once again, we just can't stop. We just can't stop. And it doesn't matter what season. It could be winter, it could be summer. It doesn't matter. It's harder in the winter, but it's no fun being flooded in the summer because we know what the mosquitoes are like. We couldn't even deal with the mosquitoes way back when we had flooding way back in 2012. We had to have the county come out and spray, just so that people could keep their windows open and dry their houses out. So it's never a good experience. But we have to be diligent. And I ask every council member here to support that. Okay. I also attended the Shade Tree Commission meeting, and we're looking for a new spring project. We're going to try to do a project that will recognize some of the beautiful flowering trees that were planted around 2006. And we're going to come into a project with that, so there will be more information on that. And I do want to thank the Shade Tree Commission for their diligence in keeping the JCP&L and the lines free and clear so we don't have power outages. The power outage I think that we had this time had nothing to do with the trees.
Well, it actually did, but just not our trees.
Just not our trees, all right. But we're pretty good with ours, and it does make a difference. All of these projects do make a difference. And do I understand that DMK did remove all of the debris out of was it the DMK?
I won't say all of the debris, but
most of the large trees that could have.
In an emergency effort, there was one very large tree brought to our attention blocking at Wilderness Park that we did remove right before the storm.
And it was DMK?
Yes.
So I would like to say that I think we should give him some type of a presentation because he has gone above and beyond what other contractors would do to help this town avoid additional flooding. So I'd like to look at that in months to come. And that is my report.
Thank you. And that, you reminded me of two things. We did have power outages of about 330 people today. Unfortunately, it was in an area that a lot of people had sump pumps running. And I got a lot of calls from residents saying, look, I have no power, my sump pumps can't run. I did reach out to our contact at Jersey Central. He got on top of it. It was trees that came down in Pines Lake that took out 3 poles. And they sent crews up there right away and were able to get the power on in about 1 or 2 hours, which was a big deal for the residents down in the Albany Riverview area because they needed their pumps to run. The other thing I forgot to mention is the DPW will be picking up our normal schedules and garbage, but if you're in a flood area and you have debris to put out, please just put it out on the curb and the DPW will get to it as soon as they can. Remember, it has to be in stackable piles. You can't throw full pieces of sheetrock that are 4 by 8 on the ground and expect us to pick it up. It has to be stacked in a way that they can get it into the truck. But they will remove pretty much everything that you put out there. Okay, Councilwoman Kilberg.
I would first like to thank our first responders, the police department, fire department, OEM, CERT team, and the DPW for all they've done during the floods. And I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for all you've done, and Michael Corelli, too, for keeping us informed. Recreation, pickleball started Saturday. 12 people came out to play, and you can still sign up and try it for $15 a week. January 22nd, there's a teen night at the VFW for the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders from 7 to 8:30. There'll be a DJ and snacks, and admission is $5. Get Fit class starts tonight, $55 for all the classes, $40 for 10 classes, or $5 for drop-ins. Classes are Mondays and Wednesdays. And you can also join the walking club at Lakeside School on Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 8 for free. The walking club runs until May 4th.
The pickleball is where?
Is at
Lincoln School, I think. Is that
Lincoln,
correct?
yes,
Lincoln,
Lincoln School.
And just to help
Yes.
with that, it's at Lincoln School, and you can pay for a one-time try or pay
Yes,
$15 drop-in?
yes.
$15 drop-in fee if you'd like to
Yes.
try it and play. So
Mhm.
I've done it, it's fun, so it's a nice time.
And that's my report.
That's important. Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Polidori.
Thank you. First, my condolences to the families of Naomi Ben, who So to all of those families during this difficult time. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you to the first responders and the DPW, along with everyone else that was involved in keeping the town safe and working so diligently around the clock in the impending storm, both in December recently and whatever we may have coming up in the next week. To echo Councilman DeLine's sentiment, to thank the residents that had put themselves out there and opened their homes and offered support to those in need. The one thing we always commend everyone on in this community is our willingness to come together and celebrate, but also in times that we're not celebrating, in times when there is need or things that we need to work together through, the same show of folks that come out to support everyone can always be counted on, and that's what makes Pompton Lakes truly special. Thank you to the mayors, our own, including especially, for their hard work and advocating for our communities. It was much appreciated and well received. Michael Corelli, not only thank you for the extraordinary amount of communication that we've been receiving, but I'll tell you, I opened my email up and it was like 168 pages in the new agenda packet, and I was a little taken back at first and thought, oh my goodness. But I'll tell you, when I sat down with my coffee and went through it, I was so impressed. There absolutely every single piece of information that we needed to move through, everything that we needed to discuss tonight was there, and the few questions I had were immediately answered. So it was over what looked like to be overwhelming at first was extraordinary. So I know that was a lot to change the format and to create that. I look forward to that being how we move going forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
I attended the redevelopment meeting. I also scheduled a meeting recently with some of the folks at the DPW to go down, introduce myself as the new liaison, meet the team, see how everybody works, and set the stage for some projects that I'd like to work with them in the upcoming year. I would also like to thank all of you for my support in the last 2 years as council president, and to acknowledge the fact that it was an absolute pleasure to support you for this year. I wish you the best of luck. I have no doubt that you will serve us well and do an excellent job. So I appreciate you stepping up for that. And that's it. I look forward to a very wonderful 2024. So thank you all.
Bless you.
Thank you. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo my peers' thanks to all the folks involved for this last round of flooding. I want to remind the residents that if the power is out, that don't wait for your neighbors to call JCP&L, to call them yourself, 888-544-4877. It's 888-544-4877, and that JCP&L's response is based on the number of customers that are impacted. And that's my report, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I skipped one thing.
Good.
I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge, I know it was shared on social media, but an extraordinary year for Toys for Tots. So thank you to everyone that came out to support that. That is multiple groups in town that volunteered their afternoon to move toys from all over, to bring them to the station, business owners that support it, community organizations that support it. I was introduced to some folks that have some connections with the individuals that run Toys for Tots at the national level through Washington, that will be meeting with me over the summer to see how we can improve and make the event even more robust for next year. But the final number for Pompton Lakes was 2,442 toys. If you were there, you saw it was just an incredible pile of toys that were dispersed in other communities. So thank you to everyone that came out and not only volunteered their time, but that actually brought toys to be given to the kids. So.
Professional reports. Bert, attorney?
Nothing.
Minister's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items for tonight. I would like to just let the public know we have a new agenda template and packet that is being posted to the borough website for our council meetings. It includes all of the resolutions and proposed ordinances for the pending meeting. I would like to thank our borough clerk Liz and our deputy clerk Kathy Trost for being adaptive to change and working with me on the new template. It was a lot of work, and I would just like to acknowledge them. With regards to further updates, Lincoln Ave Phase 2 project, I received a bunch of inquiries from members of the governing body regarding a localized ponding issue at the intersections of Lenox and Ramapo and Lenox and Lincoln. I'm working with our current project engineer to solicit a proposal to do a drainage study to fix the issue before it's scheduled to be paved in the new year. And in the meantime, the DPW is going to call out a vendor to declog all of the storm inlets before we enter into this proposal, just to make sure that a simple issue such as clogging isn't causing the ponding issue. So we're looking forward to that. We have a finance committee meeting scheduled for February to discuss our initial budget, so looking
Can I
forward.
just interrupt you, going back to what you just said? Is the engineer going to give us a report, or knows, I know we had talked about, they're going to take a look at the drains and bring in Ringwood to maybe clean out the drain, but there's more to it, I think, than that.
We're going to clean it out again first, see if it subsides, and if not, we will then retain a project engineer to do a study.
Okay.
Thank you. We have a finance committee meeting scheduled to go over the budget. We have a personnel committee meeting scheduled for next week to talk about the PBA contract renewal, so looking forward to that. And I also would like to take this opportunity to provide an update on what's to come for 2024 for the residents. 2024 will be a busy year for the Borough of Pompton Lakes. Residents will see significant upgrades to our infrastructure while keeping taxes as low as possible. Residents should expect to see the milling and paving of the following roads in 2024. Howard Street, Maple Street, Babbitt Place, Lincoln Ave Phase 2 from Lakeside to Riverdale Road, the full length of Dawes Highway, Ackerman Place, Hirschfield Street, Watervliet Ave, Albany Ave, and additional roads may be considered by the Finance Committee as part of the budgetary process. So looking forward to maintaining our infrastructure, which is very important. At the leadership of the Open Space Committee, residents will see many upgrades to our parks in the new year. I recently received architectural renderings of the new Hirschfield Park storage shed. So looking forward to working with the committee on finalizing the plans and moving that forward to bidding in the new year. I'm working with the Open Space Committee on the Willow Field project and upgrades to our Pompton Lakes Dog Park. So looking forward to that in the new year. The County of Passaic will be replacing the pedestrian bridge at Hirschfield Park in 2025 and the pedestrian bridge at West Lenox Ave in 2026. More updates to come on that. The Borough of Pompton Lakes retained a hydraulic engineer to study the impacts of flooding with regards to the replacement of the Dawes Highway Bridge, which is scheduled to happen within the next 2 years. The bridge is in the initial design phase, and the hydraulic engineer is advocating for the borough's best interests on flooding upstream and downstream with regards to the new structure. So more meetings to come on that and more reports to come on that. And with that, I look forward to working with the governing body and borough staff members to provide excellent service and continuing our progress with a purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I open it up to everybody, one thing I forgot, and you just reminded me, all our ball fields, football, soccer, baseball, are in tough shape right now. They're going to need a lot of work from our side, from the council side, from the volunteer side. You know, I used to be president of the soccer association. We went through many floods, and then the volunteers come in and help. But that's what's going to have to come back to get these fields back. You know, I went down and took a look at Joe Grill today, and it's in very, very bad shape. So we have to be prepared to help where we can with that. So just everybody should know that. Any questions for the administration?
I do.
Good.
Michael, do you plan on scheduling some time to speak with us about implementing workshop?
Yes, my apologies. I had an item for new business.
Right, I forgot.
Members of the governing body have expressed interest in possibly adding a new section to the borough council meeting labeled work session or workshop, and or having a separate session before or after a council meeting. So I did want to bring that up for open discussion on what the group prefers to do. My suggestion would be to have it in a specific section within the agenda and possibly start the meeting earlier, given the work session is an open discussion and may prolong the meeting quite a bit.
So what Mike is suggesting, and I'm agreeing with him, we spoke about this, is we put it into the agenda as we have it right now, once a month. But that 1 month meeting that we might start earlier. So instead of a 7:30 meeting, we start at 7. We would run our normal meeting, and then we would talk about the open session within that meeting. And that would give us that extra time, because we don't want to run till 11 o'clock every night that we do that. I don't know how everybody feels about that. Speak up, tell me what you think.
I agree with moving it to the beginning of the council meeting for the first meeting of the month. I do not think that a half hour is a sufficient amount of time. Typically a workshop in advance of the council meeting is either a place of a whole meeting or at least an hour. Before or after, I would prefer not for it to be after, but if we could meet at 6:30 for the first meeting of the month and separate that as a specific workshop hour, that would work for me.
So what we're trying to do is, we're responsible for everybody's time here. We don't want everybody here at 6. And some of us are not going to be able to get here that sometimes early enough. So we felt that it was best to put it within the agenda, but we also understand, and Liz is actually the one that mentioned it to us, that it's going to make the meetings too long. So I'll leave it up to you guys, however you want to do it. I'm home, I'm around. It's more up to what you guys want.
So do we want to explain the purpose of the workshop to the public so they understand?
A workshop is just to explain any projects that are coming up in the future, just to have a little discussion about it. There's no real voting at those meetings, just a discussion.
Mayor, if I may, to add on that, it would be a forum to discuss proposals received by various professionals such as engineers, retaining engineering services for different road projects or park projects. The governing body would have an open discussion on the proposal itself first, and then the process would be then to carry that to resolution for approval at the following meeting. So it's kind of an open forum to screen items in a way before they get voted on.
Introduce new items.
Yes.
It's not possible for us to meet outside of the public meeting like that in quantity of 3 or more individuals, because that would be a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. So this gives us the opportunity to speak together as a group and leverage our professionals.
Okay, how's everybody feel? Lisa, I'll start with you. What's your preference?
6:30 is fine with me.
You want to action a separate meeting at 6:30, or you want it part of the agenda?
Well, no, part of the agenda is fine.
Okay, part of the agenda.
So can you just tell me the difference between a separate meeting and part of the agenda?
We would do our normal meeting, and then when we get to the agenda part, which would be right after Michael's report, we would have a conversation about projects.
It would be, well, if I may, it would be a work session section within the agenda as opposed to meeting beforehand. It's a matter of preference, if you want to set a time before the meeting or just make it part of the meeting.
So the meeting once a month would start at 6:30 instead of 7:30, and that.
Well, we were thinking
hour
7, and then if we go a little later, that meeting might go a little late that night, but, I don't want to get people here at 6:30 either, it's a little early.
Okay. But we can work it into the meeting. I think that would work fine.
Okay. Bob?
I don't want to be here till midnight.
I understand that.
Everybody understands that, right? So
It's a good point.
I don't want to be here. Look, I'm flexible either way, okay? But obviously having an earlier session, there's going to be possibly more conflicts because we're starting before the meeting. So I think right now I'm okay with having it as part of, look, either way, I'm fine. Do I have to say, I'm good either way. It doesn't matter.
So originally, I was going to advocate in favor of a 6:30 start, separate from the actual council meeting. But I think the way Michael had described it, I think one of the benefits of having it within the meeting itself as a separate line item is it's more likely that the public will be in attendance during the council meeting, and those discussions that we'll have will offer greater transparency for the public for those things that we discussed. So even if we have to start half an hour earlier, even if we have to stay half an hour later, whatever it is, I think that aspect for me, I think is the key driver of having it within the council meeting itself.
Mr. Mayor, I have a suggestion too. So I have another client where we actually do the work session meeting separately. But that means 2 introductory statements, it means 2 public sessions, 1 for each meeting. If you end up working it into the agenda the way that Mike had suggested, you're going to save the duplicity. You just have a section that says future business, and that's not for action that evening. so it would be more time efficient.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to handle,
Yeah.
time efficiency. Ed?
So can you just explain to me that it would be the first, we would start with that? We would have open discussion as workshop and then move into the regular agenda?
No, it would be our normal agenda, and then when it gets to his report, after his report, we would do discussion of projects.
For future, that will be
For future, yes.
voted on in the future,
Yes.
not that night.
My understanding was that we would have that opportunity to just have an open discussion about anything that we needed to discuss before we went into the meeting, which, I'm not sure what moving it into the middle or end.
It just moves it along and stops people from getting here at 6:30. Public might not be here at 6:30
It
either. I
doesn't
agree.
delineate it from actually being a workshop. I don't want to feel rushed if there's something that we need to talk through.
No, it's a workshop. It's just what it is.
For clarity, it would be labeled workshop after the professional reports. I would put items on the agenda for discussion, and the governing body may bring up new business to discuss in open.
I think this helps too, Councilwoman Polidori, is if we do it at 6:30 prior to a meeting, we're obviously time constrained at that point to an hour. And the truth is that if it's a line item within the workshop, it's a workshop following the professional reports, we can talk for 2 hours if we need to. We're not constrained. I mean, I'm hoping that we don't do that, but like, I'll be perfectly honest, I hope we don't do that. What I'm saying is that we'll be discussing the task and not the time at that point. So if we have to go longer, if we only need 30 minutes or only need 20 minutes, then we're not sticking to this 6:30 to 7:30.
Right, and that's the way I
So
look
there's
at
some
it.
flexibility built in with that model, but we do have the ability, so I want to have a more elaborate discussion on some of the changes we're talking about at the dog park that I haven't had an opportunity to share with everybody else. I can email you and say, please add this to the workshop.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it's built in there somehow and we have that opportunity to speak openly about things we're not necessarily voting on, I'm fine.
Perfect.
Maria?
Yeah, I like the fact that if you want to speak, it will be after your administrator's report. It allows the public to sit here and listen, and they can leave if they feel it's getting too late. I don't mind staying late. When I was working, I found it very hard to get here at 7 sometimes because of the traffic on 287. And I think, I know a bunch of y'all, commute far, and it's a real problem.
And the other problem, it limits us with Liz, because Liz and I speak a lot about how we set the agenda up. There's many groups that want to meet earlier. If we're meeting at 6:30 already, that
Yeah.
takes that day out of play to
Does.
meet. So we're only down to one meeting now, so that was another reason why we decided.
So
to
I like the way Michael explained it, and I think it gives Jennifer an opportunity to discuss what needs to be discussed.
Yep.
So I'm fine with that.
Same.
Okay, there you go, Mike. You got that?
Yes,
Do we have to do anything legally on this?
I believe that your bylaws set forth your agenda, so there should be an amendment to that to modify the agenda.
All right, so we'll have to take care of that.
Right, and your bylaws are codified, so it has to be an ordinance.
Yep, okay. Okay, anything else, further administrator? Nope, okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Polidori, Council President Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? You step up.
Dennis Gilmer, 158 Mountainside Drive. I don't know who can answer this, but with the flooding, is the Army Corps of Engineers the only agency that we could go to? Or is there other federal agencies or state agencies or private contractors? Do we have to rely on just the Army Corps of Engineers? There's no one else that we could, like you said, bring them back, but they obviously don't seem to care. So is there anyone else out there in the entire nation that we could discuss this problem that we have?
I'll answer that. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. Just back on the workshops, as a resident, I would like to see those workshops so we can have more participation in the discussion. But instead of 5 minutes, can I get 20 minutes?
I'll answer at the end of the meeting.
You're not supposed to talk when I'm talking.
You just asked the question?
The closed meeting you had at 6:30, just a question. On that, it has open public comment. How do you have an open public comment at a closed meeting?
I'll answer it.
Just a crazy question. I do agree with the cleaning of the rivers, and we've been doing them with DMK, and we've been doing a great job. But if we don't get in touch with the people, the towns down below us, we can see what's happening. Our rivers are nice and clean. It hits the obstructions in the towns below us, and it just backs up and floods anyway. Is that, we kind of wasting our money if we can't get them to clean their rivers also? Just a common sense look at it. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, also for mentioning the Shade Tree Commission on television. Except that we don't walk around picking up sticks. I don't know where that comment came from. It just come off the top of your head or what? I know, I've done that myself, you know. You get into a position and you might say something and you say, why did I say that? Also, we really have to look at when the flooding has subsided and the rivers are down. I brought it up a couple of different places. The damage to the riverbank along the Mathis Avenue, just down from the falls, is unbelievable. Had to be 6-7 feet to the bank from trees that were planted, thanks to Councilman DeLine along the Morris Canal Greenway. I walked it with Councilman Cruz. From what was 6 and 7 feet is now 2 feet. There was so much damage to that riverbank on the bend of the river. Whether we have an engineer look at it or our administrator or whoever, that really needs to be looked at and reinforced. Let's see. Any status on the Heimel property? There's two bridges, there's two wet bridges where the river runs through, and there's a dry bridge in the middle. I took pictures today. That dry bridge was flowing river right through the Heimel property. That whole Wilderness Park and the Heimel property was just one big, huge lake today. Next was, when was or will be a council vote on the hiring of the borough attorney for the year 2024? Did we have that yet, or is that going to be an open vote, or we'll see if he's staying. Also, let's see. The Willow Avenue project that we've talked about, that everybody seems to be working towards, I don't know if it was voted on the council yet, if we're going to go through with all the funding, but where that Willow Avenue ball field is, had to be 7, 8, 9 feet of water rushing through there, these last two events. To put that much money into putting a ball field in the floodway, with these storms that come through, there's proposed 1,900 plantings for that Willow Avenue project. Those 1,900 plantings, trees, shrubs, and bushes, would be over the Patterson Falls right now, the way that water is rushing through there. You were there today, Mr. Mayor, you saw how bad it was. I think it was higher, because I took pictures the last time and this time. I think it was higher this time than it was the last time. There's more water rushing through that area. So we really have to seriously think about that Willow Avenue project. I personally think it should be scrapped. To put that much money into the floodway project, just walk the Morris Canal Greenway and see what happens to that. The river is taking it away. So let's see. So you got 7 items you can talk to me about. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session? Council President DeLine, Councilwoman Polidori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? About the controls. The controls were put in by the Army Corps of Engineers, but are run by the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection. My concern and argument with them, and I brought this up to the governor personally, who is the person we call within the DEP when we have a concern. There is no name associated with the gauges themselves. It's a mystery group within the DEP. And that's something that myself and some of the other mayors are gonna sit down with the commissioner to discuss. Just like if we have a problem with an overturned truck and we have to call the county, we know what group to call. Who are we calling when we have a concern with the floodgates? So that's one of the things, but it's not the Army Corps. The Army Corps put it in. They hand it off to the DEP, and the DEP is then in charge of how it runs. Mr. Hint, we'll start forward. The shade tree comment, I don't remember making that. I'd have to check the tape. The Heimel property, anything you can speak about on that?
It's in progress. Actually, we've had some emails over the last several days where we're waiting, coordinating something with Mr. Hyman.
Okay. The Willow Field project, it is one of the acceptable projects to put in a floodway, and that's why it's put in a floodway, is ball fields and recreation fields. The DEP approves it, the engineers approve it, so it's been looked at by numerous groups that have approved that project. That's why it's being put in there.
This is smart.
Can't talk about that. What else did you have here? The river wrapping and the rock. Yeah, I agree with you. When I spoke to OEM director and we took a look at it, it's something we'll talk about, but it's done by permit and something we'd have to talk about through the administration on how we can wrap that area. But I agree that we're losing some space over on the walkway. I think both of you took a look over there, and we are losing some space, but we also are losing space like on the Garden Road, on the Quonic, on the backside. Some residents are actually losing some ground over there too. And I saw on the news today, it's unfortunate, but with these new storms, people are losing whole backyards, so there's not an easy answer to that, so that's something we'll have to take a look at. What was the other thing you had there? The attorney, the attorney will be voted on next meeting. And what was the other one?
Towns below us.
Oh, yes, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. I had conversations with the mayors, and I've convinced at least 2 mayors locally around us to start doing it, and they've actually reached out to our administration to ask how we go about getting the permits. And I'm not throwing any town under the bus. Take a Patterson, for example. They're a very large town. They could probably benefit from what we're doing here, and the water does end up there. So I do agree, and I've always stated right from day one, if every town did what we do all the way to the bay, the water would flow better. The biggest concern, and I can tell you I live off the Wanacue, and I was concerned about flooding myself today. The biggest concern I had was the debris of trees coming down the river were so large that if they started to block up underneath these walk bridges, that's when all the water starts backing up and it's not getting through. So the debris within these rivers is a huge concern. When the water gets so close to the bridge, there's no room for anything to go under. So that's a big concern also of mine. So we will follow up on that. Okay, did I miss anything? I think I got it all.
The workshop.
Oh, the workshops, I agree, yes, that's why we're bringing it in. We're going
Also,
to.
for Quonic and Kinnelon, we also have workshops that maybe they can talk to.
Thank you. Okay, motion to close the session.
Motion.
Council President Councilwoman
Second.
Baldori, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor, anybody have privilege of the floor? No? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Do we have to go to executive session?
Did you have anything to say? Yes, I'm sorry, yes, we did about that. Yes, we're gonna go into closed session, I'm sorry. Motion to go into closed session.
Motion.
Second.
Council President DeWine, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, guys, we gotta go into closed session. Thanks, Gordon. In closed session, we discussed the personnel matter. Not a motion to adjourn. It was brought to my attention that we had some, I have an actual paperwork on it. That some residents paid for permitting during the flood that we usually waive, and our department, our building department cannot write a check back without us passing adoption from the dais about returning the money, so.
So, Mr. Mayor, I think we should ask for a motion to amend the agenda to include it. It could be a joint motion to include it and to move it.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve resolution 2483?
And include resolution 2483.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor? Everyone knows what it's about, I just want to make sure everybody understands what it is. Yep, okay. All in favor, aye? Okay.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Can I offer one thing? And I know that there's nothing wrong with the resolution, but in terms of it actually administering the resolution, this specifically says, property owners who apply and pay reconstruction fees caused by storms located in a floodway can request reimbursement. That requires the person to contact the building department saying, can I get reimbursed for this?
Correct.
We know who has inadvertently had to pay money. Can we ask the building department to reach out and let them know that we passed this resolution?
Absolutely, as a courtesy, yes.
Yeah, and Mike, you could call, right? Just call.
Yeah, and just,
Very few.
That's fine, but the way it's written is that it's contingent on the homeowner to contact the borough, and I'd rather just take the step of the borough letting the homeowner know that they can get this money.
And we should all be cognizant of the fact that anytime we have a flood, someone has to remind us to put this in so we can vote on it, because it has to be voted in each time we do this. And that's what happened. We forgot, the storm hit, and then things started moving. So anytime we have a storm, we have to remember to waive permits.
Is there a way to do it so that it's passed in anyone that comes in and asks for a permit at any point during the year specifically for flood damages? It's just an automatic?
No, because then we're gonna have to prove the flood.
if I may, Mayor, I spoke with a construction official today about this. It has to be in connection with a specific event and time frame.
Okay.
So that's why it alludes to that in the resolution. And just a point of clarity, it's not just to refund individuals, it's also moving forward for a set period of time for any permits that are taken out. So.
Yep. Okay, I think I said motion adjourned. Did that already?
You did say it.
I'm not sure.
I think
All right, Councilman Bennett, I think was one, who was the other one?
I said.
Councilwoman Caldori, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, that's it.